Hi everyone, I'm Christina Kerp. I am the founder of the Castaway Kitchen, nutritional therapy practitioner, author of Made Whole and Made Whole Made Simple, former restaurant chef, mother, foodie. Um, and I wanted to have a conversation about food and nutrition. We are in the information age, right? But is the information always accurate? If you know who Abel James is, Fat Burning Man, New York Times bestselling author, I'm part of his newsletter, and he wrote a poetry book, and he shared a link about it, but he shared this poem that was kind of, calling out the misinformation, the control of information, the marketing, just like the overwhelm that is the internet, that it's no longer always quality information. It's no unbiased. Unbiased. The way we search and find things it's just making it's harder. It's harder and harder every day to sift through all the noise. And it got me thinking, while that applies across the board to health, wellness, anything, automotive, whatever you want to think of, I feel like that applies, right? But the noise and all that. But in my space, which is nutrition and food, and two realizations I've come to very recently. One, I love nutrition. I love the science of it. But nutrition is the science of how the body interacts with food. And I often feel like we forget the food part. We either go all food and forget the nutrition, or we go all nutrition and forget about the food. And finding that balance where we can apply the science, but in a way that it's still centered around food. If you're going to, go down these research rabbit holes, like I definitely have, we cannot forget about all that science. The only way it applies to us is the way our body's interacting with the food that we are eating. And at the root of that is going to be the rituals, the emotions, the habits surrounding your food choices, your cooking habits. And I know it just seems like, well, duh, we all eat. No, because really being mindful and thoughtful around those things is going to be what's going to create lasting change. I will say, it comes down to food. It comes down to the fact that my habits and rituals surrounding food preparation are so ingrained in me that it is not even a question for me to just create meals from scratch 99.7% of the time. And if they're not from scratch, I really lean on very limited amount of pre-made foods that I trust in my home and for my family. And it's not about, I don't mean to sound like a snob, or I don't mean to sound like I'm not judging. It's just those are the habits that I've built that truly keep us healthy, I believe, because it's just second nature. And sometimes there's a little prep in advance, or leaning on, like I said, these like a pre-made dressing, or the frozen rice cauliflower versus, right, making it every single time. Like there's things we do obviously to make things easier. But I don't want you to forget in your healing journey that the way that you experience food is really important as part of that healing. If you sit down to eat and you are resentful of the meal, or scared, I don't know, this is going to feel good, or bored, this again, that's going to impact the way your body receives that nourishment. Because the love of food is what prompted my healing journey. It's why I was so successful. It's why I was able to put my autoimmune disease in remission and get rid of inflammation and truly manage, my life and elevate my life. It all started with food. And I've also noticed how much the self-care rituals that have also become a part of my life, like working out and meditating and my Epsom salt baths and reading and journaling, all these things also started from habits. And mimicking the same dedication and consistency that I practiced in my food choices, it then applied to all these other areas of my life. And I think I say like this sentence exactly in my first book, if not my second, that it will start with food. It won't end there. You know, the changes start on your plate. They won't end there. They need to go beyond the plate to truly heal. But I think it's important to have a starting point. And food is a wonderful, wonderful starting point for your healing journey, because you can make it fun and delicious. And that as it's noisy out there and you might feel confused, the one thing you can always trust is how your body will react to the food that you put in it. And that communication, that dialogue with yourself and your habits and your choices, that holds all the information you really need. You just have to listen, pay attention. So anyways, I hope that I can inspire you to have that conversation with yourself and to always create recipes that can be a part of your healing journey while truly, thoroughly enjoying them, because I think it's important to find joy in food. And food should be delicious and should nourish our body.